Examine the impact on administration in view of changing relations between political and permanent executive. Some questions are, they never lose the essence of the paper, right? So political and permanent executive, as you know, you have topics like bureaucracy and democracy, minister-civil servant relationship, right? Obviously, this relationship has been controversial since long time. The constitutional premise. So start with the constitutional premise, right? Whether you talk about 74 articles, 75, 78, right? Or part 14, articles 308 to 315 or 323, right? So you could talk about, fine, start with this, that what exactly is the constitutional scheme or constitutional vision for the bureaucracy and democracy, or bureaucracy and political system relationship. So we have two models, or we can say we have two types of executives, permanent and political, right? You can start with that. So what is the nature of relationship which is visualized? One part of the executive is the one which is ministerial, political, and it will have democratic control over administration. Administration is considered to be more non-political part, non-elected part, and so it is a permanent system which has certain more or less features, right? Tenurial security, then you can say the implementation role, most of the administrative functions, delegation of power and authority, right? Role in terms of monitoring, supervising, executing, public interface, and so many other roles it has. On the other hand, the ministry has different roles. So power is divided between the minister and the civil servant. Fine. So from this you could have started. Now, so how this nature is changing? Now, first ARC, second ARC, both have talked about these ideas. In the beginning itself, Sardar Patel had given a statement that, okay, I expect fairness, I expect straight, right, and fair relationship or communication with my secretaries. So the secretaries must be willing to render impartial advice to the ministers, and ministers must also be willing to allow the secretary a fearless environment in which they can speak. Now, this was the idea of Sardar Patel, as you know, how he had visualized the important role for civil services. But what has happened of late? Obviously, the issues which have emerged, right? If you take Wilson's perspective, Wilson had conceived of dichotomy exactly for the same reason. Why dichotomy? For the same reason, because he believed that there was excessive politicization, right? Or the use of power, politicking for self-interest. Your theory of public choice approach has explored again the same thing. How politics and bureaucracy form a nexus. Niskanen is a scholar who uses the term bilateral monopoly. What is the bilateral monopoly? The nexus between them. So first ARC, Vohra Committee 1993, Santhanam Committee 1964, first ARC 1966, second ARC 2005, and likewise. Various committees have already explored the idea that how this relationship can be improved. So there has to be a clear cut, like second ARC says, there has to be a clear distinction, a dichotomy between policy formulator and policy implementer. Even the policy process may require the involvement of both, right? But it should be strictly professional in nature. Minister's role should be to act on the aid and advice of the executive or civil servants, right? And civil servants' role must be to provide impartial data and analysis to the minister. The minister must not impose his ideology on the civil servant, right? And somewhere the civil servants must not be willing to personally, benefit the minister. So you can bring the various perspectives which are there, would have been more easy. So you have politicking, you have politicization, you have nexus, right? You have somewhere political interference in day to day, right? So how this nature is changing now? Obviously, because we are seeing corruption, a lot of corruption happening, right? Uh, One of the major reasons for corruption has been the lack of accountability in administration. Why this lack of accountability? Because obviously the political system and the bureaucracy are in relation with each other. Fine. Though of late this scenario is changing a lot because of social media, because of presence of technology, right? You've seen the bureaucratic or civil services activism emerging, bureaucratic populism emerging. They are becoming very popular. They are directly having an interface with the people. Amendments to the IT Act and Civil Services Conduct Rules, they indicate all that. Then doctrine of pleasure with the president, or the pleasure doctrine controls the functions of the civil servants, right? Their service conditions are controlled by the government. So the creation of civil services board as visualized by second ARC, which has been done by many states for transfer, promotion, for various service conditions, involvement of UPSC, and likewise. So we are witnessing a change in the nature of relationship. In fact, we can say that corruption has increased, no doubt, but to a large extent, the sense of accountability, right, a sense of responsibility of the bureaucracy has also increased, especially the impact of RTI, impact of citizen charters, social audit, decentralization of power to the local bodies. So a lot of changes in terms of relationship is taking place. Point. And even you can say the grassroots democracy has also changed this scenario. We are seeing the emergence of the local leadership, the political leadership at the local levels, right? And they are also impacting the administration in some way, constructive manner, at least not negative. Negative consequences also there, but let's explore more constructive aspect. Fine. So you can see better accountability, more scrutiny, citizens' access to the information policy, and likewise, right? Also, as Secretary RC has itself you know recommended for the changing the oath of the civil servants to oath of transparency from the oath of secrecy, right? Or you can say the risk profiling of bureaucrats in terms of how corrupt they can be. So there are a lot of measures which we can take, which in future will improve the minister civil servant or political executive and permanent executive relationship, right? Capacity building, training, curriculum changes, recruitment changes, a lot of things can be done which in future will improve it. But yes, definitely there is a need for the independent bodies, civil services law, as it is practiced in France and many European countries. Even Britain, UK, made the civil services law in 2007. So, second ARC had recommended for a civil services law, full-fledged civil services law, which was proposed in India in 2013, but obviously it could not be implemented. So, we can make a civil services law which would provide uniformity across the civil services. We have already CAT and SAT, right? Article 323A, 323B. So all that can go a long way in promoting better political executive and permanent executive relationship. Fine. That is the answer you could have written.